Hello, Internet,
Hello.
and welcome to we're crossing the streams today.
Yes, because Dylan's obsessed, at least.
Yes, well, I try to do Advent of Code live on Twitch every day during Advent of Code. And I did it a couple of years ago, and I did the whole thing. I did it every single day, literally start to finish on the stream. And what I realized subsequently is that was very easy in the year 2020 or 2021 or whenever it was, because there was nothing else to do. Because all the pubs were shut and the restaurants were shut and there were no concerts and there were no meeting and there was nothing. There was you and your desk and the internet for a year. And so, yeah, and I kind of got into the habit of doing it and managed to do it all. And then the intervening years, I'm like, I should try and do that again. And what I discovered is that the days when I didn't get to do it because I couldn't stream, I was like, oh, well, tomorrow I'll catch up. And then I'm like, I don't want to do it now because I'm going to have to do a stream where I solve the 2 days that I missed. And so what I've been doing this year is days when I'm at home and hello at desk with proper computer, I do it on Twitch. The rest of the time I just do it. So I've got my gold stars for the day. And then Thursday rolls around and I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing 2 different streams at the same time. And I thought, why don't we just mash them together? And so what we're going to do, now we've never even tried any kind of pairing on this, have we?
No.
So we're on StreamYard.
I'm renowned for my pairing skills. Hello, Twitch people. I don't normally see you. There's Twitch people in the chat.
Yes, so because I normally do this on Twitch, I thought today what we'd do is, so we're streaming to your LinkedIn, my YouTube, my Twitch, and the show's YouTube. Okay. So we're in Quadrovisic, whatever the quadrovisual equivalent of quadrophonic is.
I think I am going to publish this as an audio podcast on Spotify because I think it would be just mad. if you're listening on Spotify to the podcast, I'll try and do my best. We'll try and do our best to keep you up with what the hell's going on and what code we're writing and stuff. But it might be an idea to jump over to the YouTube channel and just watch.
So there are a couple of podcasts out there that build themselves as podcasts with slides, which is a format that, I mean, to me, I very much like, if I can look at something, I'm not going to use a podcast, because for me, podcasts are like when I'm out walking or when I'm doing the dishes. It's when I can't look at stuff. That's what podcasts are for.
Yes.
So the idea of a podcast you have to look at strikes me as a singularly self-defeating piece of entertainment. But yeah, let's see how we do this. So
we're on day 12.
Yeah. Let me share my screen. Sharing screens is easiest with 2 monitors. No, sharing screens is easiest with 7 monitors. Unfortunately, that's what I have. So let me move us over there. So we're on that one. And if I share that, and there we go. Look at that. That's one of my Mikhail Kvat's excellent synthwave wallpapers.
I do love the synthwave wallpapers.
Oh, it's just so, synthwave is so much my jam. It's just all my favorite colors. All right, so what I've been doing in previous days is, let me just Z into day 11, and there's that. And so the way that I've been doing this is I do one in C# and see how we get on with that. And on days when C# yields very, very quickly, let's just take another moment to look at the wallpaper. Isn't that beautiful? So Mikhail Kvac is I think he's in Czechia. And is a fantastic digital artist who did a whole like pack of synthwave wallpapers that I've linked to on Twitch and Blue Sky and things over the years.
This is what you want the Works on My Machine video to look like, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely, yes. All right. So yeah, what I've been doing is just .NET New Console -0 for day 12. -0 for day 12, and git add, and all this is in a GitHub repo that's public. So what we could do, if you want to, is at certain points we'll switch over, because normally when you're pairing, if you're pairing with 2 people in the same room, you take turns to drive. and one of you does the keyboard and the other one does the commentary, and we switch it around today. So Smab UK says it could be a Rockstar Day, but then Mr. Blue says, I know what today's puzzle is, and I very much doubt it will be a Rockstar Day.
Oh, I've been looking at it, and it's not.
So Anaridas says, now I got to explain that wallpaper to the podcast listeners. All right.
It's mostly purple.
It is mostly purple. There is an indigo sky with a setting sun that looks beautiful because it's almost certainly setting through a massive haze of post-apocalyptic smog. A landscape of buildings which look alternately glittery and derelict, and then in the foreground, a tiny, tiny figure with an improbably large gun on a ridiculous motorcycle that looks like one of Batman's shoulder pads sits on, for some reason, a grid mirror covered in strips of neon light, because in the future they're going to have those.
Yes.
Now we're going to get people from the podcast going, please send me the JPEG. I need to know what the wallpaper looks like.
So it's like if Tron had Blade Runner in the background.
Yes. That is very much my jam. All right. Get commit minus .NET new for day 12. Now, I have not even looked at today's puzzle yet, so I have no... Have you looked at any of Advent of Code?
I've done... So, yeah, I'm doing it in Zig myself, because I've been wanting to learn Zig, and I'm learning it, and I'm currently working on day 3 part 2, because I haven't got that yet. But yes, I am behind.
Tron meets Akira. Yeah, that's very much the life. Yeah, we got a couple of people watching the stream in both places. So right. Actually, I'd be quite interested to see. Let's have a look at it. But I'd be interested to see it in Zig, because I've never done any Zig. So I know about Zig, but I've not actually done it.
I'll show you my my day 1 and 2 in Zig and stuff when we're done with this.
Yeah, all right. So, day 12, garden groups. Why not search for the chief historian near the gardener and his massive farm? There's plenty of food, so the historians grab something to eat while they search. You're about to settle near a complex arrangement of garden plots when some elves ask if you can lend a hand. They'd like to set up fences around each region of garden plots, but they can't figure out how much fence they need to order or how much it will cost. They hand you a map, your puzzle input, of the garden plots. Each garden plot grows only a single type of plant and is indicated by a single letter on your map. When multiple plots are growing the same type of plant and are touching horizontally or vertically, not diagonally, they form a region. All right, so we got a region A. We got a region of Bs, we got Cs, we got a D, and we got it's about gerrymandering.
Yes.
This arrangement includes garden plots growing 5 different types of plants, each grouped into their own region. In order to accurately calculate the cost of the fence, you need to know each region's area and perimeter. The area of a region is simply the number of garden plots. Yep, okay. Yeah.
Each garden plot is a square.
Okay.
And so has 4 sides. The perimeter of a region is the number of sides in garden plots in the region that do not touch another garden plot in the same region.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So the type A and C plants are each in a region with a perimeter 10. Yeah, okay. Okay, so now this is where it gets slightly complicated. So this has got 5 regions, this example. And so this we've got kind of exclave regions. So so we got one big one containing all the zeros. The 4 X regions each have area 1 and perimeter 4. So that's got those are just little squares. And then the region containing 21 type O plants, we need to count its outer edge and its inner boundary. Okay.
It's boundary with each X region contributes. So hang on, you're building like double fences between regions?
Yeah. So this one here, the perimeter of the zeros is going to be 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. But then also we got to count the internal perimeters.
Which is 4 for each of those X's.
Which is 4 for each of those. So we got a total of 36. All right. Due to modern business practices, the price of a fence is found by multiplying that region's area by its perimeter, and the total price of fencing all regions on a map is found by adding together the price of fence for every region. All right, so what we got to do is we've got to figure out each region, figure out its area, figure out its perimeter, multiply them together. Yep. And get the total price.
My brain hurts already.
Welcome to Advent of Code.
I know, right?
Okay, so what I'm thinking then is that okay, so there's a couple of ways that I normally approach Advent of Code type things. There are days when I can see an idea for a solution right from the off, and if it's a small enough one to implement, what I'll generally do is just bash that out and see if it works. Yeah. And that works about half the time, as in 50% of the time that I try that, it's successful. And the other half, it's like, I just need to tweak this, or there's an off by one error. Other times, there's definitely a point, because Advent of Code gets harder. It starts on the 1st of December with normally pretty straightforward, and it gets bigger and bigger or harder and harder as it goes on. And there's often there, like, right, I'm going to start this one like properly test driven. Like, so to take that approach with today's, what I do is I'd start with a single square and write a function that gives you the area and the perimeter of that one. And then I'd do like AB, and I'd say, get me the regions and the perimeters for that one. And then I'd get like AAB, ABC, and you kind of build it up step by step by step and see how you go. And I'm just looking at it and seeing if there's like a YOLO type solution.
Oh my God. I'm just looking at the actual puzzle input.
Oh, that's cute.
It's, yeah. Good grief. Right.
Okay, so I think what we could... Okay, so it's... First of all, I don't think there's any kind of exponential runaway stuff. Like, it is possible to deterministically look at a single square in the grid, and by looking at its neighbors, determine what that square contributes to the total perimeter, right?
Ah, yes.
Because a queue that's got queues on all 9 sides is going to contribute 0. A queue that is... So, okay, so this W here, we can look at that one. Yeah. So Martin says, don't bother with the letters, go straight to 16-bit integers in your data structure. Yeah. Charles and .NET are 16-bit, aren't they?
Surely you just use bytes because it's ASCII.
Yeah.
So yes, that W there would contribute 3 to the perimeter.
Yes.
And then the one below it will just contribute 1.
Yes.
And the one next to that will contribute 3.
Yeah. 2.
No, because it's got an E. Oh, it's got a W below it. Yes, 2.
Yeah, it's got a W below it. So that's going to actually...
Why is this reminding me of Minesweeper all of a sudden?
Yeah. Yes, very, very much Minesweeper is the jam for today. Yes. So yeah, we have a look at the larger example here. So that R there is going to contribute 2 because it's got a top and a left edge.
Yeah.
That's going to contribute 1. That's a 1. That's going to contribute 2.
Yeah.
That I is going to contribute 1, 2 to its end, that one, and yeah. and Martin has just dropped what is probably a useful hint. We've got on the real input, if we have more than, we've got enough repetition that so we got a block of D's there, we got a block of D's here, we got a block of D's here. So each letter is going to use more than once. So we're probably going to want to index each. So you got to find the group of blobs and find the collection of blobs and find the perimeter of the collection.
Okay, so you're going to have a two-dimensional array.
Yep.
With all this stuff in it.
Yep.
And I think what Martin is saying is if you then create another two-dimensional array that is two wider and two deeper than that, so that you can leave like zeros all around the edge, and then for each letter just copy that letter and none of the others into your sort of working array.
Yeah.
And then does that do a thing? I don't know. I have no idea.
All right.
Oh, God.
Let's start playing.
Yeah.
So file var grid equals file dot read all lines example.txt, and then we can select each line and go to line.toChar array. So that should give us our two-dimensional grid. And so let's take a
So that's actually a jagged array rather than a two-dimensional array, isn't it?
Yes, that's a rows and
array
columns.
of arrays.
Yeah. Although it's not jagged, it's uniform, but it is an array of arrays rather than a 2D array.
It has the potential to be jagged.
Yes.
Like that's just how I
When
you've got sort of square brackets in my brain, I just call
that
jagged
instead of that.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
For listeners on the podcast, Dylan has put a opening left square bracket, a closing right square bracket, followed by a left square bracket, right square bracket, followed by a space, followed by left square bracket, comma, right square bracket. One of the things on the Rockstar backlog at the moment is that the syntax does not allow you to disambiguate between jagged and nested arrays, and trying to find a way of solving that also sounds like lyrics is melting my brain.
Yes.
So
also for people listening on the podcast, we've had the input up on the screen, but you can't see it. So I will tell you, it looks like the ASCII art, the full sort of input from the thing, looks like ASCII art of the kind of camouflage that people used to wear to the shops in the 90s.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was or possibly like the mold on J.K. Rowling's wall. I just
it's definitely got a sort of an organic and doesn't want to be noticed quality about it.
Yes, it's not nice, is it?
Right. So what do we need to do is we need to find break it into regions, and then kind of figure that out. There's always a point on this where I'm sort of sat here going, this is a lot of people on the internet just watching me be stuck. Right.
All right. So if you start from a letter. And then you kind of follow the path of letters that you can get to, because I'm thinking like go back to the example input that you've got in your solution, where we've got 8 rows and 8 columns. So would you then be wanting to say the first region would be a 5x4 with the R's in it?
Hmm.
And then the second region would be a 2x2 with those I's in it.
Why a 5x4?
Because it goes 5 across.
Yep.
Oh
yeah. I
R
see.
is there, and then 4 down.
Yeah.
Because that's the lowest one there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then you're going to have some where it goes backwards and sideways and all that sort of thing.
All right, let me just try something just to kind of get my brain warmed up. So what I think might be a good place to start is just something that goes through the grid, calculates the contribution that each square makes to the perimeter, and just dumps those out. So we don't know which regions they're in, but for everything in the grid, we do know what perimeter contribution it's going to make.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I'll probably do as public static class extensions, public static int perimeter, and this int it's not an int, is it? It's a char grid, and int row int col. So what we got on there is, so first of all, can it contribute the top? And it will contribute the top if, so var p equals 0, that's the running total for the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And then if row is 0 or grid row -1 col, so we look at the cell immediately above it, is not equal to, let's capture grid row col in a thing. Yeah.
Can you do me a favor in pair programming land at the moment and just do if row equals 0?
Yep.
And then we can merge the ifs later if we want to.
Yep. Okay, so if row equals 0,
equals 0, of course.
Thank you. Yes, of course. So p equals 0, var me equals, actually let's call it, me will do. Will me do?
Yes.
So that tells us the one we're looking at. So if row is 0, p++, if col is 0, p++. So that's checking for the topmost and the leftmost.
Yeah.
If row is
grid dot length -1.
Yep.
Then that's contributing.
Now it did say it's always going to be a square. Do we want to rely on that and just grid dot length, or do we want to actually
grid row dot length?
Yeah.
-1.
Okay. And then we've got if grid row -1 col is not equal to me. Yep. So what we're doing here is we are checking first of all, checking top, bottom, or top, left, right, bottom to see if we're at the edge of the grid. Because if we are, then we contribute a 1 to the perimeter because we're at the edge of the grid. If not, then we look at the adjacent cells and we see how many we've got on there. And so this gives us a potential maximum of 4. So then we just want to give back P, right?
Yeah.
So let's just check that does the right thing. So if
the only issue you've got there is you're doing row -1 when row is potentially 0.
We've already. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you might want to put that as an else on that if.
Or we merge the conditions and use logic short-circuiting.
Yep, that works too.
So if row equals 0 or that, if col equals 0 or that. And then if row equals grid.length -1 or that one. So just in case any of you folks haven't seen it, C# and lots of other languages have a very handy thing with something like an OR statement, where if the first part of an OR is true, you don't need to bother looking at the second part, and so it never evaluates it. And so if the first part makes sure that you're not going to fall off the edge of the grid, then the second part can safely run code that would fall off the edge of the grid because it's not going to run it.
Unlike Visual Basic.
Unlike Visual Basic, which would evaluate both parts.
Yes, I think Visual Basic actually ended up with two logical ands, one of which was like greedy and the other...
Yeah.
I'm going to mention Vim here. Shift J to join two lines. And reduce the join between them to a single space.
Yes. All right. So that should work. So what I want to do with this is let's just run a var grid equals, let's say, a dot that, and then let's build up a map of all of the perimeter contributions. And so this thing can be public, and a perimeter contribution is always going to be an integer, isn't it?
Yes.
As in, we're never going to get something with a more than 2 billion number of integer contributions. So build map is going to take this char grid. And so let's say var result equals... It's the easiest way of duplicating a two-dimensional array. Like, I know a dozen ways of doing it that all suck.
I mean, unsafe.
Not that.
Mem copy.
Grid select row goes to row dot select item goes to, or whatever, goes to 0 dot to array dot to array. Will give us an array of zeros that's the same size and shape as the thing we started with. I don't want to copy it. I want an empty one that's the same size.
Yes.
And then we can say for var row equals 0, row is less than grid dot length row plus plus. For var col equals 0, col is less than grid row dot length col plus plus. Result row col equals grid dot perimeter row col. Boom, done. All right. And then for each row, for each column, console.write dum map row col. Yeah.
What's the hash for?
It'll format it as 3. It'll format the width of the number so they're all the same size.
They're all going to be single digits.
They're all going to be single digits, aren't they?
Yeah. Because it's a number between 0 and 4.
Yes, it is. I knew that. So there's that. Console.write line, nothing.
Okay, so that should print just 4.
That should just print 4.
CD.
After it's finished doing a .NET package restore. Cannot declare, I need to make the extension method static. That's what I always forget to do. Yeah, boom, done. Char does not contain a definition for toArray. And that we need to return result, don't we?
Yes.
Yes.
It's trying to call to array on char. Where are you?
Oh, I'm stupid. File.read all lines returns an array.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I actually need that. Yeah, that
you
should
get
do
to
it.
use C-Sharp's lovely new collection initializer.
Yeah.
There is no target type for the collection expression. New string.
String grid equals hang on, no.
Yeah, no, if you just do string, if you declare it as string grid,
yeah,
then you don't need to do anything on the
except no, grid is the two-dimensional array of things. There, 4. That printed 4. Let me move that little thing out of the way. Right. I'm going to push that to GitHub. And then you can pull that and you can drive for the next part.
Oh dear God.
Git commit -m DWAY12 parsing single cell and calculating permitter. All right. Actually, shouldn't put the GitHub window on the screen. You'll see all the secret things I'm working on.
Right. So it's
I can stop sharing, can't I?
.com/
Yep.
Dylan. Oh, there you go. It's already in my autocomplete. Advent of code. And do I have? I don't know.
Two senior evangelist devs spent 34 minutes to output 4 to the console. It's not the 4 that's the point, Rob. It's that it can also do other numbers.
Yes.
Let me add you as a collaborator.
Oh, if you add me as a collaborator, then I can just clone it directly. And then I can just do that. And we can do git clone that. And then we can rider advent of code 2024 trust, because I do.
Settings, collaborators. You do realize when you do any kind of development on a stream like this, how many little things you have to do to write code, which are not in fact writing code. Let me add you. How do I manage a add people? There we go. Are you just Rendell on the GitHub?
That Rendell.
That Rendell. That Rendell. There you go.
Just Rendell had already gone.
Yeah. How dare they?
Rider is just refusing to load your solution, so that's fun.
I don't have a solution.
Well, you've got advent of code.
Oh yeah, don't load that. Just go into
okay.
day12 and open the project.
CD day 12, and then we can just do rider dot, and that will just open that, trust that, which I've already trusted. And then there we go. Hooray. And then I will share my screen.
Yes.
Present, share screen, and the entire screen, and it's that one. And share. There we go. Okay. You can go away. Nope. Right.
Right.
So
let's just try.
We now do.
Yep. I mean, you could just chop out the new string A and it'll read example.txt and map that, and that'll give us results to look at.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm going to BIM. Right, and then let's open up the terminal in here, because then you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Because otherwise, my terminal's on a little. I have a separate monitor just for my terminal. Look, it's down here. And then we can do .NET run. And hey, there we go. That's done a thing. So if we bring up example.txt up here,
yeah.
So we have 2 and 1 and 1 and 2. Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's looking right.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got all our perimeters for each individual square.
So now what we need to do is or an approach that I think might work, is to, for each element in that grid, figure out which region it belongs to. So we start at the top left. We start at R. We say that's going to be region 0.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, right, so let's stick a 0 into, we'll build another map which contains the region indexes or the region IDs, because we can't reuse the letters because we can't use letters because they get reused.
Yeah.
And so that one we say, okay, so top left, that's 0. Look at the next one. Is it the same as its immediately preceding neighbor or the same as the one above it? Then it's also part of 0. Otherwise, it represents part of a new... Oh, hang on. We got to look at every side, haven't we? Because we could have awkward shapes that kind of coil around themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Oh, there we go. It's back.
So if we build a block full of 0s, I think we use 0 to indicate we haven't mapped the region yet, and we start our IDs from 1.
Right. So
because it'll make it easier to see what we got.
Scratch.
Yeah.
No. Cancel. So then this is going to be sort of no.
Let's so go back into the code.
Yep.
And let's just go to the extension method that calls build map, and just let's take a quick and dirty copy of that.
Yeah. All right.
And then let's So what I think,
can I do something really just okay, so I'm gonna manage NuGet packages, and we're gonna go community toolkit high performance, turn off pre-release because it's a bit weird, and then we're going to add that in there.
What does this give us? By the way, anybody still listening to this on the audio podcast, I salute your commitment.
Right, so here we've got file, read all lines, do this, do this.
Yeah.
I want to put this into something different.
Yep.
So I want to, we'll say, width equals grid is grid0.length, and var height is grid.length. That is something very clever happening in Riders stuff these days. And so then we can say var working equals new char width, height +2 and height +2.
You said 2 and typed 1.
I did.
Okay, good. It is 2.
And then we can say for I is less than grid.
Are you doing the thing where you put the grid inside a slightly larger grid so you never fall off the edges?
So you never fall off the edge, which is going to, but also I'm going to do something like really funky with it after that, using the high performance thing. So then we're going to say grid I dot copy to working no, because it's not going to want to do that, is it? So then we can say var span equals working dot to span 2D because this represents a 2D region of arbitrary memory. Like the underlying buffer for a span 2D might not be do.
Are you trying to optimize the process of copying one array into another array?
Yeah, but I don't think span 2D works the way I thought it was going to.
What do we say about premature optimization?
We say things.
Yes.
For J is less than no, we're doing that from height, aren't we?
So I always use either X and Y or row and column, because in my head X and Y is always across then down, and row and column is always down then across. And I never use I and J for spatial coordinates because I can never remember which one's which.
So we've got row 0, column 0.
Yep.
And then we're going to say working like that.
Except we want to offset it by 1 and we need to transpose the coordinates. Unless, do you want working to be X and Y or rows and columns? I think we keep it as rows and columns.
This is giving you an IEnumerable of rows.
Yes.
And so then that's the thing there. So that is row column and that is row column as well.
Yeah, so that won't transpose, but it will move it into the middle of the new working grid.
Yeah.
What's the default value of a char in .NET?
Null, 0.
Null or 0?
Same thing.
As in the numeric value 0 indicating ASCII null. Right, okay, good. Yeah. Not 0, which is actually 48.
Yeah.
Which, by a handy coincidence, is the number of today's episode of Tech Bugs and Rock and Roll.
Right. And then we don't need 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't need those.
So you can rip out the guard clauses, and we just need to change the limits on the loop. Yep.
Like so, and then this starts at 1, and this starts at 1, and needs to be less than length -1.
Yep.
The same thing there.
Yep.
And then we can just change this to call this on working.
Sally has suggested that we put 0 effort into preparing for an episode. That is not true.
No, that's entirely. We have a Trello and everything.
We have a Trello and everything. We have topics. We have StreamYard. We have to set up. We have a theme tune. We have artwork. It's a professional outfit, or it would be if we got paid.
Outfit. Yes.
As it is, we are merely amateurs of Olympic standard when it comes to nonsense on the internet. All right.
Okay, and then we can change this to return that as well.
Yep.
See, that's it. What does a two-dimensional array do here? You know what? I am git reset because I don't like what's happened here. There we go. That's better. Let's just go back to this.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Right. So we'll just do this stuff here.
Yeah.
Right. We now need to be working out.
So what we need to do now, I think, is to build another copy of the grid in which, instead of letters like A being reused across multiple regions, every single cell in that grid is the unique ID of the region to which that cell belongs.
Okay, yeah.
So if you bring up your the example.txt thing that you had.
So this would be region 1.
So now this is a bad example because it doesn't reuse anything, I don't think.
Okay, so let's just, I'll make my own.
Okay, so the simplest possible thing here is ABA. AABBAA.
AABBAA.
Yep. We need to turn that into 112233.
Okay.
So let's just run that through the map first. Just run that and make sure that we get 333333.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
That's good.
So what I think the approach we want to take with this is we, in this example, the AABBAA, we want to start off with so Mizard has popped up that a 2D array is equivalent to a 1D array of array R times stripe plus C, which yes, it is more efficient until the point when it starts confusing the programmers.
It's
at which point the efficiency is somewhat deleterious.
The point where it starts confusing the programmers in this case is immediately. So I'm just not doing it. Right, so what we want...
So what I think we want to do, first we build an empty map. So in this example, we've got
static int ID map.
Yep.
This int grid.
Yep.
Oh, char.
Yep.
Oh, your coding standards are so weird.
So mine are partly because if you reformat it, should work. I've got an editor config file that Visual Studio Code normally ignores for the first 20 minutes of any given stream because I don't know why, because everything sucks.
Yes.
So there should be an editor config in that repo that puts the things at the end of the lines where they're supposed to go instead of on lines by themselves where they think they're important.
So if we then go do result.
Yep.
Length. Yeah.
So Nineberry has just popped up and said, "Is two people working on the same code? The same, like the Pink Panther cartoon, where the Pink Panther and the little guy are constantly painting the pillars in different colors."
Yes.
Sometimes it's.
And then we can say for I is less than result.length. I plus plus, and then we can say result I equals new thing grid 0.length.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can just return result.
Yep.
Okay, and now.
So let's just build one of those, dump it, make sure we get 6 zeros in a row.
Yeah. ID map.
Yep.
Yep. Zeros.
Okay, good. Right. Happy.
And now, okay, so we want to say for R equals 0, R is less than grid.length, and then for C equals 0, C is less than grid R dot length.
Yep.
Okay. And so we're going to have an int region ID equals 0.
Yes.
Actually, we're going to start at 1.
Start at 1.
And then we are going to say.
Now, this is the bit where I'm trying to figure out the logic in my head. Because if the...
Oh, hang on. Recursive thing.
Yeah.
So we are going to say if result RC does not equal 0, we've already set it.
Yes.
Continue.
Otherwise.
And then we're going to say result that does that.
And then
I'm going to have a private static method.
Yes.
Private static void check neighbors.
Yep. Call it grow.
No. It's checking neighbors.
But if it's recursive, at some point it'll need to call itself, no?
Yes.
Keep doing what you were doing. Let's see where that gets to.
Right. So if row is greater than 0, if actually Will we always have done? No, because they could go down and back up again.
Yeah.
If rho is greater than 0, we can say if is C.
Yep.
And then we also want our int result. And we want our int region ID.
Yep.
Then we're going to say result.
Rho -1 col. So, yeah. So anytime you've got
a result, rho -1 and col is 0. So if the if the character's the same and the region hasn't been set for it yet, then we set the region thing, and then we call check neighbors.
Yep.
C, region ID, grid, result, rho -1 and col.
Yep. Now, what if you, instead of checking each neighbor, and if it's true, assigning each neighbor, what if you just have a function that you give it a single cell?
Mm-hmm.
It looks at that cell, and if that cell needs to be flagged, then it flags it and then checks its neighbors.
That's what it's doing, isn't it?
But you're going to end up duplicating that little chunk there 4 times for north, south, east, west.
Yes.
Keep going, but I think when we get to the end of it, something will jump out as, oh, we could move that into here and do it that way.
And then there we go.
Yep.
And then we can do something similar. With col.
Yep.
If col is less than grid rho dot,
Yep.
And then right. So this should
you're not calling check neighbors anywhere.
And then we can call check neighbors, and we're going to say grid C.
Yep.
And region ID.
Yep.
And grid and result and row and column.
Yep.
And then we can say
region ID
plus and just carry on.
Yeah.
Okay. See what that does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Right.
Yes.
Let's
right.
example.
Dot minus, because I am so passing this back to you now.
All right.
Minus M, assign region IDs, and git push. I don't have the permission.
Oh, you should do. I can fix that. Hang on.
Off screen.
You haven't accepted your invitation.
That would be it.
Yeah.
Let's go and accept an invitation.
Yeah. Do you want to stop sharing and then you can accept the invite?
Yes, that's a good idea.
Because accepting invites means opening email and stuff. And
yes.
Right.
I can put that on there. That's not me. That's that Rendell. It should also be showing up in my notifications in GitHub, shouldn't it?
It should.
Yeah, there we go. Accept invitation, and then back to Rider, and yay, it worked.
Sweet. All right. So now I'm going to share. I want to share. That's
I do have a hard stop on this today because I've got to go and do a school run in
that's cool.
minutes. So
I think we will probably get part 1 done in fairly short order, actually. And I think we'd probably call it a thing instead of... We'll have a look at part 2, but it sounds like part 2 today is a little bit gnarly. Right. Okay. So that's in. That's in. Cool. All right.
A little bit gnarly.
No. Right. So I just want to... We've got your little scratch.txt thing in here, haven't we?
Yes.
Scratch.txt. And so if we look at scratch.txt, so A, C, C, B, B, A. I want to see what that does. All right. 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4.
Yeah.
And now let's put in B, B, D, 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 D. So we should get 2 different blocks of Bs here.
Yep, 5s and 6s.
6s.
Yeah. And that should be 7s.
Sweet.
Okay. Yeah, that's working.
All right. So
this
now...
is how we used to do test-driven development in the days before unit test libraries and NUnit and XUnit and things like that.
Yeah. I would love to know why this thing is just refusing to pick up any of my editor config settings, but there we go. All right, so what we need to do now to solve part 1 is, so the I'm going to just rename that to be regions equals grid.id map. And we had build map is, that calculates the perimeters, doesn't it? So I'm going to call that calculate perimeters. Actually, I'm going to call that map perimeters. And I'm going to call that one map regions.
Okay.
And that's completely not going to pick that up. So there's that, and var perimeters equals grid.map perimeters. And then what we want to do is we want to rattle through every...
So having like replaced all the characters with IDs, can we now call the subsequent things on that array of ints rather than the thing? So when we're doing map perimeters, we could do it on the ints, on the regions, rather than the letters.
Yeah, we could. Yep. We don't need to.
Okay.
We could, but I don't think it gets us anything at this point. So now areas is, so we've mapped all the regions. So now we can say regions dot select many. Line just goes to, does just select many work?
No. Hang on, no, regions that.
What is region? Regions is it's a jagged array, right?
Yeah.
So select many should flatten it. into one just great big long thing, but because every region is unique, dot group by cell goes to whatever the cell is, because it's just the int, and then that dot to dictionary group goes to group dot key, group goes to group dot count, I think. Let's see if that runs.
Select, okay.
So that does need a line goes to line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the Haskell programmers call the unit.
Yeah.
Cannot convert lambda expression to type I equality compare int. The name map
does not exist. Where did map get called? Ah, yes. What was that? That's regions, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, so that's doing that again.
Okay, so now for each var thing in areas. And yes, I know we have string interpolation now.
Where have you put a comma?
I haven't.
Oh, you just, yes, there we go.
All right. So region 1 has an area of 1, 2, 3. Region 2 has an area of 1, 2, 3, 4. Region 3 is 1, 2, 3. Region 7. Yep. Okay, so that's good.
That's all worked.
Now, if we multiply the perimeters, so we want the total perimeter of each region.
Yeah.
So that's our areas, and that there, I'm actually going to rename that to perimeter map, because that's that. And then we're going to say var perimeters equals regions. Do this slightly differently. So I'm going to crib that chunk of code there so we can reuse that. So every row and every column in here, what we are going to do is var region equals regions row and column. And then we need to build a dictionary, which will have the int is going to be the region, and the int is going to be the perimeter.
Yeah.
Regions dot that, and regions to perimeters dot triad region 0, because then we can just do row col plus equals perimeters.
Right. Can I show you something that's going to blow your mind?
Yes.
Right. So so instead of regions to perimeters triad,
yep.
I want you to do a new line above it.
Yep.
And just do collections Marshall. No, collections Marshall, all one thing.
Yep.
And then do whatever you need to do to and then just do dot.
Yep.
And you need to get the using in for that thing there.
What is collections Marshall? Where did it come from?
System runtime interrupt services.
So the problem is that the C# plugin for Visual Studio Code is currently being a massive pile of crap.
So just go up to the top and do using system runtime interrupt services.
Yeah.
Okay, and then collections marshal dot.
So I open this in Visual Studio.
But it's get value ref or add default.
Hang on. Open a project or solution. The projects, GitHub, Dylan Beattie, Advent of Code 2024, day 12.csproj. Right.
So yeah, wherever you were doing your, so yes, your collections marshal, and then just do the dot again so it does the autocomplete.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to wake up.
Oh yeah.
Please wait. You have opened Microsoft Visual Studio. Here is some music.
I think it's ready. Dot. Nope. Oh, hang on. I think it had it then. Right. Get value ref or add default.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Row.
Hang on. It wants a dictionary.
Yes. So pass in your regions perimeters.
Yep.
And row.
Yep.
And then just put plus equals 1 at the end. So close parens. And then plus equals 1.
Except that's not that. That's region. And it's not plus equals that. It's plus equals perimeters row col. Yeah?
So hang on. Var dict equals. Dict row and you need an out underscore. And
can you plus equals that is the question.
Yes, you can. It's a ref.
All right.
So yeah, it's returning a ref int because it's returning a reference to the actual pointer to the location of that int.
All right. Okay. That's cool.
It's dug right down deep inside the dictionary implementation and done something very, very naughty. It's got a pointer directly to the bucket, effectively.
It would help if I called the variable with the proper name.
Yes.
All right, and I don't think we need that because
you need that. So that is it sets a boolean telling you whether it existed already or whether it just created it. But we don't need it, so we can just ignore that.
Okay. So then for each var thing in regions to perimeters, do that again. And now we can .NET run that and see what do we get. Okay. And so the total perimeter of region 1, it says here, is 8, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The total perimeter of 3s is also 8. The 2s is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right.
Yeah. This is mad. Madness.
And so, what was the question again?
The question was the total cost. And so the cost for each region is the area of that region times the perimeter of that region. And then it's just the sum of that. And so
thing.key, so thing.value multiplied by
areas
thing.key. Part 1 equals that. Part 1 plus equals that.
$236. Okay.
Let's check whether that maps. We're still on example input, right?
Yes.
No, we're not. We're on our Scratch.
No, we're on the thing.
Yeah. Did we mess with something? 1930.
No, it's
yeah, no, it's right.
There you go.
Yeah,
okay.
It's right. It's right.
So run it against the actual puzzle input.
Right.
So I had enormous fun because I'm doing this in Zig.
Yeah.
And I think what we should do is now, once we get this to complete, I'll show you some of the Zig code I've been writing because it's fun. That's not the right one. I want you.
We should probably take out the console.write lines that are not relevant to the solution.
Yes.
I love this part.
Going and putting it in the field.
Yay!
We did it! And actually only in 20 minutes over the time
we said we're gonna take to do it.
That's not bad.
Yeah, let me push this. So you can run it and do your bit as well. Or are you going to do it on Zig?
I'm going to do it in Zig. I'm going to translate it into Zig. But yeah, let me share my screen. You stop sharing your screen and I'll show you the kind of present and share screen and entire screen and that one. So yeah, this is Zig. And I don't know Zig at all. And so this is all very new to me. So yeah, it's a sort of C-like. It's designed to replace C.
Yeah.
And or C++.
So the one thing, there are two things I know about Zig.
Mm-hmm.
One is that it has code that runs at compile time. Is that right? Like its whole code generation, preprocessor, macros thing.
Yeah, like you can put comp time on things and it will just run whatever code you've told it to run at compilation time at that point. And so you can set things and stuff. So yeah, it does weird code gen things.
And that to me is a really interesting idea because you think about the number of things in, like strongly typed languages or systems like Eiffel, which have formal method checking and everything. And you think, if you could run code that would cause the compiler to actually execute your code and fail the build if your code doesn't like it, suddenly you're like,
the other thing, which I don't actually have a demo of because I haven't used it, but it has inline testing. Yeah. And so you can put a test block right by the function that it's testing, and then you just do Zig test, and it goes and finds all the tests in the project and runs them. And then the other thing is its approach to memory safety, which is you can see here, where it doesn't have a heap sort of built in. It has multiple heaps or multiple allocators. And so you create an allocator. And then what I would do if this was just a normal function, it's going to exit at the end, so I don't need to do this, but I can just say defer. Oh no, hang on. Let's go to day 3 and we'll look here because I've got a different. I started using a. So yes, we have a general purpose allocator, and then it has defer. So like Go, where sort of C# has the using thing, and it will call dispose when the using block terminates. Zig has defer, and so I say open my file. I say try. And what happens is if that returns an error, so it doesn't have exceptions, it has sort of returning unions and one of them's an error. And so you can say, try doing this. If it doesn't work, then it will return the same error from main. So that's quite nice. It's a nice sort of easy way of just, but you have to deliberately propagate the error back up the chain. And then we can defer file.close, which makes sure that closes. And then when I want to read the entire file into memory, I call read to end alloc, because I don't know how much memory I need, because I don't know how big the file is. And then I pass it the allocator. If I then wanted to get rid of that buffer, I can go here and I can say gpa.destroy buffer, and it will get rid of it again. But I can also just do gpa. You can't do it on this one, actually. But when it goes out of scope, it will just immediately disappear. But there's an arena allocator in there as well. So if you need lots and lots of memory, you have an arena allocator, and you can pass a heap allocator into that, and then you can arena.d in it, which just clears it all out. So yes, and then this was fun. So this is an iterator, and we just it's a lot like an enumerator in .NET, and it just has a next method that returns, and this thing says it's either a token or it's null.
So the iterator here, it has a buffer, which is an array of unsigned 8.
That's
U8
so that is essentially a string. Zig does not have a string type. It has arrays of U8. And then we have an offset, and the buffer is const, but the offset is not. And usize is the native integer type. So 64-bit, I think, in this one. And then when we call next, and we just return a token, and then this is from day 3. So this is the multiplying things when they're valid thing. And so we just go find the first M or the first D. And if it's D, then we say, does this slice start with do? And if it does, then we can set the offset to 4 and set do to true. If it's don't, then we can set the offset +7 and set do to false. Otherwise, we'll just move along because it wasn't a do or a don't. And so we just go back round to here. Otherwise, if it starts with mull, then we can find the closing bracket there. And this is the other thing here. So where we've got things that can return null, you can say set it to this, or if it's null, do something else. And so that's quite nice. And then we can return this token here, which has got the multiplier in it. The multiplier is, these are the structs. So you have a struct which has members. And then we have a token, which is a union enum, which can either have a mull or a do in it. And so down here, we are returning a token with the do set. And here we're returning it with
that'll be one of those famous discriminated unions.
Yes, exactly.
That the .NET people don't
get
have
rid of all of this
stuff.
And then Yes, and then we can just say while tokenizer.next, and then it's got this Ruby style thing here for passing the parameter into lambdas. And then we can say switch t. If it's a .mul, then we can say if do total is add what we're doing here. Otherwise, if it's do, then we get the value of do, whatever that was, and we can just print. I was printing it out there because I'm still debugging this because it's not working. And then do equals d, and so it starts as true, and we just loop around the tokens in this thing. But yeah, no, I'm quite enjoying it. But the thing that was really fun, I was doing day 2. And I've got my input.txt file here, and I went off to Advent of Code, and no, not you, Advent of, oh god damn it, Advent of Code day 2. So yeah, here's my puzzle input. Here is how I go and I do Control C, and then I go back to here and I do Control V. And what that does, if I just do Control N quickly, and then we just do this, and then look down at the bottom here, end of line sequence by default, because I'm running on Windows. Also, it's identified just a random list of numbers as Ruby, which I find disturbing. But yes, and so it's got \n at the end of every line, and then I was splitting it on \n, and every time it tried to pass the last token on a line, it was returning an invalid character because it was like 76 \r. And there's no kind of simple trim method. So yes, once I changed the line ending to just LF, it suddenly started working, which was nice. But yes, so that was fun. But the problem when you're sort of trying to do something in a language that you don't know at all and you're learning it as you go along is you don't know whether the problem that you're having is your logic and your algorithm, or that you've not understood how a method works and all that sort of thing.
So I, when working on Rockstar, frequently got to the thing of like, there's a bug, but I don't know if the bug is in the program or the interpreter, or somewhere else, which was always fun.
But no, I'm actually quite enjoying Zig at the moment. And, once I get to the end, I do sort of. So here is my P1. There is actually a thing you can do. So if I wanted to, I think I've done it in here. No, I am just reading the file in all of them.
So you know what the most high-profile actual thing that's been built with Zig so far is?
Bun.
Yes.
The JavaScript runtime.
Wonderful new, statically allocated language with fast memory management and everything. And they're like, yeah, you know what we should do with this? Give people another way to run JavaScript.
Yes. No, that's not that is not the correct thing to do. But no, I am really enjoying it. I can certainly see that one of the really nice things, it is fast. The currently, the billion row challenge. The fastest solution to that is in Zig. And it's doing some nasty bit twiddling stuff, and I don't understand how it's working at all. But no, I mean, I think I'm a fan. It's easier than Rust. The chances that I could write 94 lines of Rust code and get it to compile within 24 hours of me sort of starting the thing is very, very slim. I don't understand the borrow checker and what owns things, and everything just ends up wrapped in a goddamn arc anyway because I'm terrible. Whereas Rust, it is actually, it's almost as simple as C.
I should point out that I'm nodding and agreeing with what you just said about Rust, despite not understanding anything about what a borrow checker is or what wrapping it in an arc would be.
So I mean, okay, so my favorite example with Rust is you can create a variable A, and then you can create another variable B and set it to A, and then after that, any further attempts to access the variable A will fail because it's not A anymore, it's B now. B owns it, A is dead. B took A's value, took its pointer and stopped A from working. And it's just it's that, and then and the generic signatures for things,
because people looked at all of the other languages and went, what we really need here is variables that get invaded and annexed by other variables.
There can only be one owner of an object at a time, whether that object is an int or a char or whatever the hell it is. And the thing is, so you need to be quite a good programmer to be able to program in Rust. It's not for everybody. It's not for people who've just sort of done a full stack boot camp over 6 weeks and come out to fuck the rest of the world up. But at the same time,
do they do 6-week Rust boot camps? Is that a thing?
No, you would have to do like a computer science degree and then do a 6-week Rust boot camp on the end of it. But with all that said, it's very, very difficult to write code that will compile. But if you have code that will compile and you haven't done anything unsafe, it will probably work. And so for the things that Rust was designed for, which is writing system software, web browsers, networking utilities, bits of the Linux kernel, all this JavaScript engines, all that sort of stuff, Dino, it's fantastic because you are actually verifying that your code is correct. But if you're writing if you're doing like advent of code or just writing little throwaway things that just need to run quickly and you might sort of use it once a week or something, then Zig, I think, is the perfect thing for that. I'm a big fan. So yes, I will now be trying to translate part 1 of today into not now. I'll do it on my laptop later.
So I just, before we wrap up for today, want to comment on one weird coincidence. Other than me having hacked the background color, I think we have exactly the same color scheme in our editors.
Yes,
or near as damn it.
It's I think it's color theme, Dark Synthwave 84.
Yeah.
But I have not enabled Neon Dreams because I tried to enable Neon Dreams and it cried and said no. And then you go and look at the GitHub for it, and there's just this whole big complicated thing you have to do. It's got something to do with GPUs.
I know. I don't have that on, but
no, it's from that time when I came round your house and you were just finishing off a bit of JavaScript. Before
I remember that. Yes.
I just went, I really like that theme.
Yeah.
And yes, I want to get it in Rider. So I will find.
See, that's the kind of thing that AI should be able to do. You're like, I want this color scheme in that program. You fix it, because there's no decision making to be made. There's no creativity. You just need to translate one arbitrary syntax for expressing hexadecimal numbers into a completely different arbitrary syntax. No. Instead,
I keep seeing these adverts at the moment on Reddit for some reason, and they are not remotely appropriate for the Reddits that I am Redditing in, or subreddits, whatever you call them. But it's IBM trying to sell me Watson X on the basis that it can translate COBOL to Java. Which I think is
the beginning of the end of days.
If you can then get mainframes, I believe IBM mainframes do run Java. And so they will actually be able to replace whole big chunks of COBOL code with Java code that does the same thing.
And the COBOL code works just fine. They just can't hire anybody to maintain it.
Nobody can fix it. But I love the way, and obviously it's because it's IBM and they've got a big investment in Java and all this sort of stuff. But they're going from a clunky language with too much boilerplate that everybody hated to Java. Like, is that really the best option that you could have come up with for that?
So my alphabetical history of software, which is not going out every week at the moment because I'm doing Advent of Code, so there is plenty of stuff coming out. The next one is IS for IBM, and I was like, I should read up on the history of IBM, and there's a lot of history, like
Hollerith.
All the way back to Hollerith and the 1890 census, and it's fascinating. But I've been reading about the history of IBM. I'm 70 years in, and they haven't invented a computer yet.
Yes, they're getting there. They're nearly there. My favorite thing that I learned about IBM when I was researching the How JavaScript Happened talk, was the whole reason John Backus ended up building Fortran is he was walking past the IBM office in Manhattan, downtown Manhattan, and they had the ground floor with the big glass windows, and there was an IBM 704 inside with lots of flashing lights on it. And the flashing lights, they did technically indicate something to do with the internal state of the machine, but most of them were completely pointless.
Yeah.
And they were only on there as a marketing device.
Yeah.
They made the machine look exciting.
Yep.
And so people went, oh, look at all the flashing lights, because otherwise it would just have been like big metal boxes.
I built a gaming PC for my brother 20 years ago or something. And, it was all black hardware, black everything. And then we were looking at it, like, it needs lights. So we went down to Maplin and we got like a couple of kits of just blinking, chasing red LEDs and just stuck them on the front. So just drilled a bunch of holes and glued all these little LEDs in. So we had this whole thing.
This was before...
says, not a Java fan, not totally sure why. Give me C# anytime. Yeah. C#
is in a better place now. I mean, if you like C# but you have to program for the JVM, then just use Kotlin. Because Kotlin's kind of Java compatible, but it's like a weird mixture of Swift and C#.
Yeah. I mean, I did Java. Marie says, it's what all the 2000s era CS majors. Yeah, I did Java at university and I graduated in 2000. And obviously my Java is old Java now. But there was just... I don't know, something about, because Java was like really, I remember when Java was the newest, shiniest, sexiest thing. Like, literally, it was going to save the world and everything was going to be amazing. And Sun had the Java station, which plugged into your TV. So you could browse the Java internet with Java. And Corel was porting WordPerfect to Java. And, I think it just... like it burned out a lot of people on not living up to its promise.
I still remember, like, way back 94, 95, whenever it was, and there was a guy in our office who created a Java applet that was then included in a website, and you put it inside an A tag to create a link, and it did the mouse over thing. And when it changed the thing, but he had been a Commodore 64 game programmer, and so he knew all the maths and stuff, and so it wasn't kind of, it's this image, and then when you mouse over it, switch to this image. It was dynamically rendered color gradients, and it was animated and stuff. So while your mouse was over the link, it was cycling through the rainbow colors, looking like some kind of weird pride flag.
Oh, nice.
But yes. And then Brendan Knight came along and went, no, we just do it on mouse over.
Yeah.
And then CSS came along and went, no, hover. And we went, oh, God, thanks.
I mean, so Marie says Java never got good UI. So UI basically peaked with Windows 2000, and everything since then has just been 25 drunks wrestling for control of a stolen car. We have, as an industry, completely fucked it when it comes to, I need to build an application that looks good and I do not want to hire a designer. Because with Windows Forms, you could do that, and it worked.
You could. With Java, you had to use Swing, I think, was
Java
the thing
Swing.
at the time, and then they replaced that with Java FX or something. But there's only one good UI framework for the whole of Java, and it's not Swing. It's JetBrains' internal fork of Swing that they fixed all the sort of nasty little edge cases with. But they have not made it public because it's all mixed up with the IntelliJ code. So,
And on that note, let's wrap it up.
And you can jump onto Twitch and try and do part 2 or something.
I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to come and do part 2 on Twitch a little later on. Because that's how we roll.
I might stop by and hurl abuse at you when I get back from doing a
When you see what I've done to your code, you will hurl abuse.
All right, so there we go. Podcast people, let us know on the comments how you enjoyed that one, or how long you lasted before you just went, this is pointless, and stopped listening and went and got on with more useful things. But yes, and everybody else, go check out Dylan's Twitch channel in a little bit. He'll be doing part 2. And We're going to be trying to do this next week from a very grand place in Oslo, I suppose.
So yeah, next week we're going to be the Gamle Luggen or Gloyen, or I can't pronounce Norwegian, and I have until next week to learn.
For NDC's Juleburg.
The Juleburg. We're going to be at the big Christmas party in Norway. So if any of you is in Norway and wants to come to a big Christmas party, go to ndcxmas.com and check that out. And we're going to be doing comedy, and we're going to be doing music, and there's going to be loads of food and drink and a piano, and I'm going to wear a tux. And
a proper concert grand.
I know.
For Keith to play.
I know.
It's exciting.
I know. All right.
And we'll see you there. All right.
Take
care, guys.
Have a good one.
Bye.